Football is back. And in addition to that, we've got lots of dynasty talk. And as much as as much as we've gone over the bridge of week one, there's still lots to overreact to. We'll play some fiction or truth. We'll talk buys and sells. Lots more dynasty fantasy football. Of course, we'll answer all your questions here on this episode of the Dynasty Six Pack. Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 28 of the Dynasty Six Pack, here, week 2 of the NFL season. I'm Kyle Senra, and I'm joined by my co-hosts. We have Rahul Natarajan. How are you doing, Rahul?
Doing good, Kyle. Good to see you. Good to see Jamie, as always, back here on the Dynasty Six Pack. Week one, very exciting. Football is back, but week one also brought its fair share of humble pie. I think if you just look at the points leaders at various positions, and you can compile a list of like 5 first-round drafted wide receivers, and then 5 guys are probably in the waivers, and the waiver team probably won. Just to emphasize that no one knows a thing, but. Other than that, I'm definitely doing great. Excited for tonight's show.
Hello, Albert. And hello, everyone who's watching live here on YouTube. And of course, hello to our co-host, Jamie Perog. Jamie, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Excited. Football's back. Week 1 in the books. We got some data to actually look at. And I'm just excited to move forward.
Yeah. And we'll move forward with this episode. And we'll get to the quick plugs. Just want to mention everything about DynastySixPack.net. Great website. I just put out my first in-season article just today. So goal line report week 1, the goal line guide, which is, I think, far more important. Those are coming in week 5. These are nice teasers to look at inside the 5, looking for touchdown upside. But that's just one example of so much great content. I know Joe puts out the usage report. A lot of great things, a lot of great things for free on FantasySixPack.net. But there's even a step further with the all-access membership, especially in season now. There's tons of great DFS betting content, advanced rankings and cheat sheets. Joe, as well as a lot of the other great content creators, put a lot of great work in for the things that you get in that all-access membership. So, you can get it at a reduced price using the promo code F6PPODS. So F6PPODS, all capital. Arabic numeral. Yes. Always get it. Take your time, and you never say it wrong if you ramble. No, I actually say tons of wrong stuff when I ramble on. I'll get this right though. Fantrax.com/fantasy6pack for great info about our partnership that Fantasy Six Pack has with Fantrax. Big fan of that. Big fan of fantasy football. Of course, we all are. Everything happened in week 1. We're going to overreact to it, right? Immediately.
What else is there to do?
So if you want to share your crazy overreactions over the top, you can join us on the Fantasy Six Pack YouTube page. We're live every Wednesday at 9 p.m. Eastern. And leave your comments there, interact with us. If you have any questions, of course, feel free to ask throughout the episode. We'll get to those. We've got a few topics we'll get to. And I think the format for in-season is that each of us are going to bring a topic each week. And it could be a wide range. Too formulamatic. I think I just lost the internet there. We're good. So keep it fresh each week, a bunch of different topics. And so this week, we're going to start with overreactions. Should we react or should we overreact? Or what is the appropriate amount of reaction and not overreacting to certain things that happen? So, Jamie, you brought us a game we called Fiction or Truth, Fantasy Fiction or Truth. I want to get the FF in there for sure. But so you brought us 4 players. We're going to talk about pairs at each position and in similar situations after week 1 or similar situations in week 1, and where do they go from here? So we're going to get started with Quentin Johnston, wide receiver for the Los Angeles Chargers. So Jamie, this is your game. This is your contest. I'll let you lead us off here. What do you got to say about Quentin Johnston's week 1?
I just want to start by saying don't get caught up in the hype. Like, people are already overreacting to Quentin Johnston. Yeah, he just finished as wide receiver 3 with over 24 fantasy points. He showed off that first round talent he has, but don't fall for the trap. He's not giving you another top 5 finish this season, maybe his entire career, honestly. So sure, he's worth like a redraft pickup if he's still out there, but don't go throwing half your fab on him. Don't go overpaying in trades and dynasty just for one big game. Because remember, McConkey's still there. He's going to command more targets as the season goes on. Keenan Allen is also back. He's going to be soaking up consistent work. And then there's Trey Harris, who hasn't got rolling yet, but he should as soon as the season goes on. So looking ahead, Tua Quentin Johnston's next 3 matchups against the Raiders and the Giants, that sets him up pretty well. So he could be a flex option in those games. But like those defenses could easily put him in that flex conversation, but don't expect top 10 numbers ever again from him. We call him Mr. Brickhands for a reason. He's not a must start. He's like, okay, so I have a home league with my friend Jason. He's usually in the chat. A bunch of newbies to Dynasty. And my buddy Jason, he took advantage of QJ's breakout. He flipped Mark Andrews and Quentin Johnston and gave up a 2027 third for Dalton Kincaid and Chris Godwin. So he got younger at tight end. He got a way better wide receiver. Kincaid's already ranked ahead of Andrews in most dynasty rankings, and basically stole Godwin for receivers who I consider Quentin Johnston outside the top 70 wide receivers in dynasty. Well, speaking of Jason, there he is in the chat.
There he is.
Honestly, I would say that third should have been at least a first, or add like a second rounder kind of to bring it closer. But what would you guys think? Was that a smart move, or did Jason fleece him?
I mean, I guess there's concern with Godwin, but we'll get to that with the next player too. So I'll save a little bit of that. I think I definitely would rather have Kincaid than Andrews. Though. I mean, in spite it was a good fantasy performance for Kincaid, but boosted by a touchdown. He only had 4 targets, still 4 times more than what Andrews got. I think 1 target in that week, and unless there's some other car accident, back injury that we didn't hear about, and we'll hear about it in a month from now if that's what happened. But what's the excuse this time for Andrews only getting 1 target in the season? So I don't know. I think I could see the sentiment of just being so done with Andrews that, yeah, you're right, Jamie. I probably would have added a second instead and still been fine with it getting Kincaid and Godwin. But I am a little concerned with Godwin. But to me, the crux of that deal is the pivot from Andrews to Kincaid. It doesn't feel like you're giving up anything super expensive to make it happen. I mean, honestly, Andrews in a second probably gets Kincaid, right?
Yeah, I would think so. So pretty much you got a free Godwin.
I mean, so I guess in theory, I would say maybe would that have been better than giving up Quentin Johnston? And I think, I guess, Rahul, what do you think about Quentin Johnston before I give my thoughts?
I think Quentin Johnston is just, what he always has been. It's, what we saw this past week doesn't really. It's not that different from what we saw at large parts of last season. Now, I mean, Jamie, you play in a lot of best ball leagues where I think a player like Quentin Johnston would be a little bit more appealing to me. Why I'm a little it does feel like an overreaction. I'm not looking to go and buy Quentin Johnston in any of my leagues, but one thing that I think we could take as truth, to keep it in the name of the game, is the Chargers pass rate, especially in a game script that they were leading the whole time with their first round rookie running back. Now I know Najee, I think they were we had to cap him to only 12 snaps. Maybe the Najee snaps cuts into the passing volume, but I don't necessarily think that. I think that QJ is going to have some fantasy relevance this year. Will the week to start him? Maybe it's going to correlate very heavily with the over-unders. If they're in a shootout, then you might want to toss him in. I'm not ready to say yet that this is just a 1 week thing. Because one thing that you said, Jamie, that I maybe disagree with a little bit is this is going to be his only top 10 performance. I think QJ has top 10 weekly upside because he has established that he's going to be one of Justin Herbert's favorite touchdown targets. Like that, we saw a season of that happen. And then, yeah, the first game he had 2 of them. But I think it's either going to be like, low end wide receiver 1, high end 2 numbers, or like barely on the face of the map, right? So I think it's an interesting one. I'm certainly not going out. Like I would not, if anyone's asking for more than a third for QJ in value, I would shut those negotiations down. And even a third is like, could I use that a little bit better? It's an interesting one for sure.
I think where he gets the potential top 10 upside is injury, right? Like if Allen or McConkey were to go out, I think that gives him more secure targets. I mean, Jamie, you said it, like McConkey will probably earn more targets as the season goes on. He still had more targets than QJ did in week 1. So it was he was behind Allen and McConkey. I'm certainly in weekly rankings, I'm definitely going to rank McConkey ahead of him. I'm struggling with the Keenan Allen to Quentin Johnston. Okay, Allen getting more targets probably seems likelier to happen. Like that seems like he led the Chargers in targets last week. I don't know if that's always going to happen, but Allen getting more targets than Johnston on a weekly basis is probably likely to happen. Now, Johnston's upside on fewer targets, does that make him a better fantasy asset? So I know even this week I'm struggling with who do I rank higher between the two. Like they're both like right around the wide receiver 3 to 4, somewhere between 35 and 45. Somewhere in there, I think both of them are. Who do I put higher? I've really struggled with. So that I'm not sure with, but if Allen was gone, I definitely would be a lot more enthusiastic about playing Johnson because I think his floor would also go up. So I guess, yeah, the one goal line point I'll make is that they only ran one play inside the 5. Of all the plays in that game, there's only one play that either the Chiefs or Chargers ran inside the opponent's 5-yard line. It's the Justin Herbert pass to Quentin Johnston. So that's a good sign because last year they were one of the run heaviest teams inside the 5-yard line. So already the first chance they got inside the 5-yard line, they decided we're going to throw it. So that's to your point, Rahul, that's like a big flip right there in that mentality. And that could be something that continues to go on the season. If anything, this means we should be maybe trying to go by Justin Herbert because this looks like, do people know how, like, he's got top 5 upside? Like, is there much difference between Herbert and Burrow?
Oof.
I would say probably not, right? I don't know.
Certainly not if Herbert, I think, we know he's got a great arm. He's a great quarterback. What for fantasy really caught my eye is his willingness to scramble, even maybe a designed run or two. There's also like a 20-yard run that was called back on a penalty flag. That's what we talk about all the time on the show. The rushing quarterbacks gives you that floor that from which you can get those 30+ point games. I definitely think Herbert. Thing is, Herbert's probably valued very highly. So where can you make that tier down from Burrow to Herbert plus a first? Like that could be
probably
enticing.
not a first.
Yeah,
I don't think you're getting that. But like even is this like a second might be worth it still though.
Yeah,
I'd consider exploring that. So I guess to answer question, J-Man 937, just because we love numbers so much. So again, Jamie, it was Mark Andrews, Quentin Johnston in a third, or Dalton Kincaid and Chris Godwin, correct?
Yep.
Rahul, did you have any thoughts about that trade?
I don't know if I want any of those players or assets in my teams. Like,
wow. I mean, and I guess one's a pick, so it almost feels like it's 2 for 2, right? There's no.
Yeah.
I suppose is the advantage that Godwin's on IR. You can put him on IR and open a roster spot to pick up a player. Is that the only difference in the trade?
It might be. I mean, even with Kincaid, like, he got the touchdown. It was 4 targets, 50% snaps in a game where the Bills had 85 offensive plays run. Allen passed for 250 yards in the fourth quarter of the game. So on a per target, per attempt basis, I think we just saw the exact same thing from Kincaid from last year. And
it's funny because we're still in the Chargers section. It still says Quentin Johnston on the screen underneath. The Bills and Chargers situation seemed very similar, where the top 3 targets were the top 3 wide receivers. Now, even more so than Kincaid, the Chargers tight ends almost seem like an afterthought. I think they combined for 3 targets. That's less than what Kincaid had on his own. So it's not quite to that extreme, but that also is maybe what works in Johnston's favor. Looks like the wide receiver 3 on the Chargers is likely to be the number 3 target on the team as well. At least that was the case week 1. We'll see if that follows through, but I would imagine most weeks that's probably going to be the case. And I wonder, is that the same case with Buffalo, where it's Keon Coleman, Shakir, and Joshua Palmer? Go Canada. I mean, he got, I think, 9 targets. I think he equaled Shakir. So those 3 seem to. And I remember the Palmer contract kind of surprised people when it happened, but now we're kind of seeing why they prioritized him. So is Kincaid stuck being the 4th target on the team? That's not great. I suppose Andrews has more room to move upward. Yeah, Jamie, did you want to say anything else about this? I guess in the stack, right? Sorry, he already has Josh Allen, so he gets the stack with Kincaid. So I understand why.
Well, in my opinion, Jason totally fleeced the guy, because there's no way that I'm giving up Kincaid just for all that. There's no way, man. Like, you would have had to give me a 1st round pick or at least like an early 2nd round value on top of it.
Yeah, it does feel light for Kincaid. I think about it, but again, only 4 targets. Maybe I'm focusing too much on that. I don't know.
People are forgetting that Trey Harris, man, 76% catch rate. I think he had like a 70% contested catch in college. Like, as soon as he gets going, he's going to be the deep ball guy.
I mean, when does he get going? Like, I mean, I think we have to. It might not be this season though. I mean, like this, if they're happy with the top 3 they have, Trey Harris might not get on the field, and that was the case here. He barely played any snaps, right? And I mean, when he was out there, he got a target, and so okay, his target per route run is probably pretty good. But that's all. I've also always made the point of why those stats maybe we overrate them, because if he's just not going to run any routes, it doesn't matter. We'll see. I mean, the Chargers, they have all season to kind of decide what they're going to do with it. We'll find out. Now, so I guess Jamie, you're more on the fiction side. I mean, certainly, like, I'm not going to rank him at wide receiver 3 ever. I mean, Rahul, I know you mentioned the top 10 upsides there, but are you ever going to actually consider him a top 10 receiver in going into any given week based on rankings? I don't know if you do weekly rankings, but
I don't, and even if I did, it would take both McConkey and Allen being out, and then like, would he push my top 15? I don't even know about that. If
they were both out, wherever we're putting McConkey is probably where he'd put Johnston. I mean, that's Jamie's a whole argument with Blake Corum and Kyron, right? If Kyron's out, wherever you're ranking Kyron, you have to automatically rank Blake Corum there. It feels like that with Johnston, because I mean, if those guys were to get hurt, Trey Harris would come in and certainly run routes and earn targets. At this point, based on what we've seen from Johnston, I don't think that it's automatically going to happen where Harris gets more targets. So, Jamie, sounds like you're more on the fiction side for fantasy fiction here.
Yep, correct.
All right, we are going to transition. Next player is Emeka Egbuka, another wide receiver who had a top 5 performance in week 1. So, Jamie, we'll let you kick it off.
Yeah, so Rahul and I, we do a show over at Going for Two every week, and just last week I was hyping up Egbuka to the moon. Like, on this show, you all know that I've been on him all offseason, so this isn't new to you guys. He was on the field for 93% of the snaps, caught 4 of his 6 targets, 67 yards, and found the end zone twice. Like, we can't expect 2 touchdowns every week, right? It's just not possible. But even without them, like, his usage and his talent, it screams a safe top 24 production going forward. And if you grabbed him in drafts, like, you're sitting pretty right now. But if you missed out on him, go try buying him in Dynasty before people actually realize he should be in that top 16 wide receivers overall. Like, I just moved him up to my wide receiver 16 this week, and right above Marvin Harrison Jr., Rashee Rice, Odunze. So if you can get Egbuka for cheap right now, I recommend doing it. The rest of the season, like, I have him right in that wide receiver 20 area. I think he's going to have more top 5 weeks going forward. Like, I even have him rest of the season ahead of Jameson Williams and Tyreek Hill, who was being drafted way before Egbuka. So if you can get him in a trade for cheap price, do it. Even when Godwin returns, Egbuka could take over that McMillan role. We saw it last year. McMillan's final 5 games. Last season, he averaged 19 points per game. He finished wide receiver 9 to 19 every single week. And that just shows that Egbuka can still post strong numbers even when he's sharing targets later in the year. So I'm asking you guys, is this an overreaction or is it a truth?
Well, I guess the first thing I was going to say when you were talking about your rankings, have you raised him ahead of the other rookies that we were ranking ahead of him, specifically Travis Hunter and Tedero McMillan?
Travis Hunter, yes, I have him ahead. Tet still behind Tet.
Okay, interesting. And so, I don't know. Yeah, I see your question, Maddie. We'll get to that after this.
Yeah, that's a good question. Stay tuned.
You see, I don't think it's an overreaction for what you're talking about him rest of season. I mean, even week 2, I'm ranking him, I believe, inside my top 24. Now, redraft weekly rankings a little different than where the Dynasty rankings are. I certainly think raising him into the top 20 in Dynasty makes sense. I mean, he's going to be valued there. So even if you acquire him at that cost, you could probably resell him at that cost, right? So, if that's now, this might be maybe the worst time to try and buy him. Like wait for, and I mean, and not even just because the cost changes, but if someone has Egbuka, like Jamie, you've been hyping Egbuka up all this time. If you got him, now it's probably not the time you want to sell him. You just saw a spike week from him, so you're like, this is, unless it's some Godfather offer that like, oh, you're getting Jamar Chase somehow, you're probably just rather produce, right? So it might not be the best buy, but I agree with ranking him. So I guess from that perspective, I agree. Rahul, what do you think?
I think he's out. He absolutely is the truth. This is a guy that, like, I mean, hand up, like, I was kind of shocked, and this is maybe just on me, but I was shocked by the amount of juice he showed on the field, his ability to just like run by players. Because I would have thought for all the skills that Egbuka showed in college, I don't think his explosiveness was an elite trait of his, and I think he showed all that and more in week 1. One of my favorite anecdotes of week 1 is Mike Evans was talking about like what they were saying in the huddle right before like that last drive where Egbuka scored like what ended up being the winning touchdown, and they were like, Emeka was just like, let's run that post play, I will catch it. And that's exactly what happened. And that it like just like so the quote is great. Like Mike Evans is like, I wish like we were mic'd up, and then Mecca like confirms it when they're like interviewing it after. Like, I don't know, man. Like I feel I feel damn bad that I was like so off. Like it almost feels like a Justin Jefferson 2020 situation where like Jettas was going like 108 to 112 in his rookie year. He was going behind CD, going behind Jerry Jeudy. We could be having the same thing out here with Emeka Egbuka. He feels
no matter
like the
how
truth
many
to me.
times we tell ourselves, like, don't let the crowded landing spot be the reason you fade a rookie wide receiver. If everything lines up, they're a first rounder, they've got an amazing production profile. Oh, it's a crowded spot. That's not what you should worry about. Maybe you worry about the quarterback to a certain extent, but we've even seen that change like on a dime, right? Like we really need to, because every time we fade a receiver for that reason, it seems to just blow up in our face. AJ Brown's, I think, a prime example for a lot of people. Egbuka might be the latest, and certainly Jefferson, I think, is a good example too. Now, Dave, I guess really quick, what I was referencing earlier with that trade, and I think it's perfect to bridge these together. Am I overreacting to thinking this is not good for Chris Godwin? That he might not, because we've seen earlier in his career where he didn't quite earn the targets as easily as say Mike Evans has. Like I feel Mike Evans, his role is going to be secure. I mean, he led the team in targets last week, so even with Egbuka there, Evans was the most targeted player. Didn't get the touchdowns. That can swing and change. So I like still chasing the targets with Evans, but I'm really concerned, A, Godwin's health when he returns, but B, what's his role going to be? And it feels like, well, now that Egbuka is this good, Godwin is not going to be viewed as a priority in the passing game like Evans and Egbuka.
I mean,
so I'm already wondering, does Godwin just automatically become the third target on this team? You guys think that's an overreaction?
No, yeah, I still think Godwin's going to command his. You got to remember, he was wide receiver 1 overall last year before he got injured for the first 6 weeks.
It's funny. There's, I think, 3 or 4 different receivers you could say that for. AJ Brown was the wide receiver 1 until he got hurt week 2. I think Nico Collins, shout out to Rahul, he was the wide receiver 1 at one point, then he got hurt. Then ultimately, just Jamar Chase outlasted everyone. It was him. But it's funny. Sorry to interrupt, Jamie.
Yeah, so no, I still think Godwin's going to get his. They could play off each other pretty well. Godwin can also play outside, just like Egbuka. So it's going to be interesting to see how they play off each other and what roles they're going to be playing.
Now, to this point, I mean, are we all? I think we all have Egbuka ranked higher than Godwin and Evans in Dynasty now because of this.
Oh yeah, Godwin's like probably in the 30s right now, just because of age alone.
Oh, I would.
And
Pretty sure he's he might be lower than that for me. I think he's. I'll look. He might be 40s, 50s actually in Dynasty rankings. So I think, in spite of this age difference, I'm pretty sure I have Mike Evans still ranked ahead of Chris Godwin. So again, maybe this doesn't help. Like, if anything, I'm gonna probably lower him when I revise my rankings next week. Joe, my Dynasty rankings will be at fantasy6pack.net. And Joe Bond wants those at every 2-week intervals. So after week 2 weeks of data, we'll definitely put that update in. But anyone else want to say anything about Emeka Egbuka?
Yeah. I mean, I could talk about him all day, but I think you said enough for today.
All right. Well, Maddie, thank you for this question. So, sorry, just offered Drake Maye for Justin Fields in a 10-team Dynasty Superflex. So 1 week of performance.
That's
just
awesome.
offered Drake Maye. So would you sell Justin Fields to go get Drake Maye?
100%.
100 times, yes. 100 times. Like Drake Maye, we all know that I won the Dynasty Court. Dynasty Dynasty.
You'll never let us forget it. So of course we know.
Dynasty quarterback 7 for Drake Maye. Fields, we talked about him recently on this show, I believe, last week.
Yeah, that was a bad take on my part. I thought he'd have a horrible week 1 against the Steelers, and he'd be a better buy after this week. And now he's going so good that he's a sell. Like, the prices.
That's the game we play. That's the game we play.
And like he has to be stuck around that QB 20 in Dynasty until we see that contract extension. I think we talked about that last week. So yeah, go steal Drake Maye right now.
I love Justin Fields probably more than anyone. And yes, I would trade Justin Fields to get Drake Maye.
Yes.
My only Dynasty league that I have Justin Fields in left, because there's a couple leagues that folded there. Definitely had a lot of them before, but the one league I still have Fields in the rookie draft last year, I traded down. I could have taken Drake Maye, and I traded out of that spot to get Bo Nix. So I wonder now, Maddie, you've inspired me. Can I go? By not giving up Bo Nix, although maybe after week 1, I'd much rather do that. But I wonder if I can explore this. So thank you, Maddie, for this question, and hope we could emphatically give you the courage and confidence, in spite of Fields finishing so strongly, the long-term dynasty value of Maye, the top 3 pick on his team right now, rookie contract. It looks like they are going to build around him. That being said, if he disappoints, I mean, they just took a first-round quarterback a few years ago, and they've moved on from him for Drake Maye. Doesn't mean the Patriots can't do that either if Maye never fulfills his promise. I mean, Mac Jones went to the playoffs at one point. So, let's say Drake Maye never goes to the playoffs in his rookie contract. Are they what are they really going to give that strong of an offer? I don't know. We'll find out. We'll see. I think, like, you guys think that's an overreaction? Just because they lost to the Raiders, that all hope is lost for Drake Maye, or like he's fine? Like, this is a no-brainer trade. Jamie seems to think it's a steal. Like, what do you think?
About this trade, I would still do it. Just, you gotta trust in like the process and not let week 1 overreactions change like kind of what you've been thinking all off season or before. I will say though, I think we have to remember that Drake Maye is still a pretty raw quarterback. I think film wise, there were a lot of struggles that I saw from Maye. It also kind of surprised me that the Patriots were like top 3 in neutral pass rate this past year. And I think they kind of just have to get the offense like maybe a little bit more easy for him. But I still do believe in Maye. And I think even as he develops as an NFL quarterback, I think the fantasy games should still come from. I I don't exactly have his rushing stats in front of me. I'm not sure if he rushed too much in that game, but yeah, when it comes to this trade, I just think you can see that 3-year window more easily for Maye than you can for Fields, in spite of what happened in week 1.
I mean, it was great, and they still lost, right? That's the thing. If Fields looks good, and they play a bunch of games close, but they still lose a bunch of them, the Jets are still maybe incentivized to move on, right? and not make it a big a big long-term contract. I mean, he's still under contract next year technically, so like they don't have to make a finite decision, but they could also enter next year and not give him the extension and just say, okay, we're giving you 2 years to prove it, right? So until, like to Jamie's point, until he gets that extension, it's going to be tough to rank him any higher. Extra context here from Maddie. Fields is QB3 after Burrow and Mahomes. So doesn't need the starter right now. I think that's key. Like that context just makes me want to make that trade more. Because if you were relying on the starter right now and you're trying to win games, Fields probably is better than Maye. Like, Fields is going to be better than. The truth is, I can see why with Mahomes and Burrow you wouldn't want to start Fields, right? But it almost feels like you should on any given week. But who do you bench between Mahomes and Burrow? If you had picked right last week with Burrow, that would have been amazing. Mahomes and Fields doesn't mean that would be great every week. There's comfort in just starting Burrow and Mahomes every week, and whatever happens. And okay, you don't have Fields' temptation to. Is this trade motivated by the fact that you saw the 34, 35 points on the bench? And you're like,
on the bench. Well, I guess
I don't want to see this every week.
I guess put it this way to relate it back to our last player, Emeka Egbuka. You could probably trade Drake Maye right now to go get Emeka Egbuka. You could not trade Justin Fields right now to go get Egbuka. And at that point, I think you gotta just take the move that has the highest value.
I mean, I don't even know if you could trade Drake Maye to get Egbuka. I mean, he was really hyped this offseason, so maybe. But after this explosive performance by Egbuka, I guess this might be the worst time to get him, not just because the value changes, but people are, like, it's the worst time to ask because the answer is probably just going to be flat out no. Like, there's almost nothing. Right now, if I've got Egbuka, there's no way I'm moving him. Unfortunately, I have 0, so I'm going to get that all year. Hooray. All right. More fantasy fiction or truth. Here we go. This before I reveal the truth. Who led all tight ends and targets last week? In week 1. Does anyone know?
I do know.
Yeah, if you saw the show team, you know who we're talking about. It's clearly the player I'm about to bring up. Juwan Johnson, 11 targets, led all tight ends in targets. I believe he was top 10 or top 50 in the NFL as well in week 1. So, JB, real quick, truth or fiction?
I'm going to pump the brakes on Juwan Johnson. And are we really ready to trust a Saints offense? Like, there's at least 20 tight ends right now that I'd rather start over Juwan Johnson. Yeah, he scored 15 fantasy points, but it took him 11 targets. 26% target share. There's no way that's sustainable, especially in an offense that's been all over the place. And sure, like, stash him on your bench for like bye weeks or injury fill-ins, but I'm not trusting him. I'm not blowing all my fab on him. I'm not overspending on him in dynasty trades. Like, I'd rather go with guys like Harold Fannin Jr. or even an Njoku who split the targets. And the bottom line, Juwan Johnson isn't suddenly going to be a top 10 start every week. You're setting yourself up for disappointment if you treat him like a top 10 guy.
I think that the takeaway might be, and Rahul, I don't know if you noticed in our RSO league that we share, I picked up Johnson, I think Saturday or Friday or something before the games. Of course, the 23 points were on my bench. The 9-point loss, that definitely would have helped. But I think now my takeaway is I probably in a tight end premium league, full PPR, 2 PPR for tight ends. I'm probably going to play Juwan Johnson now. Like, I'm willing to do that. The leagues where you had him on the bench, put him in the starting lineup. But to Jamie's point, I don't know that I'm really in the other leagues. I'll put my redraft leagues, for instance, I put some fab on him, like 5. Mm-hmm. Well, in case anyone's listening, I don't want to reveal. Actually, they've already run. Well, no, one league has run. I think that was the point. I think Paulie's playoff. I guess it's revealed that. So there's some fab on Juwan Johnson. but not anything overkill, and I don't really feel like I want to go trade for him in Dynasty. The truth is, do you guys remember Week 1 last year? Saints offense, outstanding. It was the Panthers defense,
Mhm.
of course. Juwan Johnson and Foster Moreau led the team in targets, and they both went crazy. And then I think like one of them got 0 targets the next week, and the other one got I think they both had like 0 targets or 0 catches in week 2, and one of them didn't catch their only 2 targets. Like it went from crazy like everything to nothing in 1 week. So we've seen this before with Saints tight ends. Now, is there truth to Johnson leading the team in targets every week? Probably not. But is he the second fiddle behind Chris Olave? Like I can buy that. Raheed Shaheed coming off the ACL tear, it might be slow, especially early this season. Is Juwan Johnson that second option in the offense? I think that could be true.
I certainly think it could be true. And I mean, to project this forward, like one of the more interesting stats on the weekend is that Kellen Moore let Spencer Rattler throw the ball 46 times in a game that was only 20-13. That really shocked me. Like we were, and this is mainly with the Kamara projection, but I was kind of expecting an uptick in play volume, because Kellen Moore, whenever he's called plays for an NFL offense, has ranked very consistently in the top 8 in the league for pace of play. But the fact they let Spencer Rattler throw the ball that many times in a relatively neutral game script, I think it's going to be pretty ugly. But especially in your tight end premium leagues or full PPR, I think I am okay chasing Juwan Johnson a little bit. I wouldn't overpay. In a redraft league that I lost George Kittle, I actually put 5 $0 bids on various tight ends, and I was like, whichever one I'll take. It was Fannin, which I obviously missed out on, then Juwan Johnson, then it was like Hunter Henry, Zach Ertz, Brenton Strange. It was all guys that, like, for me, replacement level, I don't want to pay a cent for any of them, and that's kind of what I was thinking.
Was it on Sleeper?
This one is on ESPN.
Does ESPN have targets, or are they?
No, they don't. And actually, all my sleeper leagues, we switched that off. But
well, just like in that, you can, when you're looking at the free agent waivers, you can sort by targets. They're doing Sleeper. And that's a trick I like doing with tight ends, right? I know Yahoo, you could do that as well, where in the stats you can sort by fantasy points, you can sort by like certain stats, you can sort by targets, right? So like, it's just, man, who are the tight ends with the most targets? Put fat bids on them, or just $0 bids, and just order them in the priority of the targets. It almost sounds like you did that with the way you named them, Johnson and Fannin and Hunter Henry. It's like that seems like all the tight ends on waivers and based on target order, which to be fair is the smart move. That's the way I kind of go.
Yeah, no, that's funny. I will have to start looking into that. But just to dive a little more into Juwan himself and price wise, one of my leagues that, again, this one in the Dynasty League that I lost Kittle, Jonnu Smith was my backup, so not as strong as it looked, a couple months ago. I asked the guy who had Juwan Johnson, like, hey, I don't really want to pay a fourth. Can I get this deal done? And he's like, I would not accept a fourth. And like, that's already the line beyond which, like, I don't want to pay that for a
You don't want to give a third. You wouldn't want to give up 2 fourths.
Certainly not. I was even like, hey, I could give you a 26th fourth for Juwan and a 28th fourth. And he's like, I'm not even just accepting the fourth straight up. So I think maybe rein in. Maybe that's maybe that's just undervaluing him, but I'm not chasing it beyond what I still think like a replacement level tight end is. Like, not in the targets, tight ends don't get 11 targets, but as Jamie said, for the offense point of view, I'm just not chasing that as like a high upside outcome kind of guy. I think it's just replacement level tight end, whichever you can get for the cheapest value in a trade or on the waivers is kind of how I play that.
If he can get close to that kind of targets, his floor will be safe. But if there's no touchdowns being scored by the offense, his ceiling won't be high enough to really be a difference maker as a tight end. Now, I think we can say the exact opposite about the next guy. Can you guys guess who is second among tight end targets in week 1?
It wasn't Mr. Taylor Swift. I can tell you that.
Well, to be fair, there was like, I think 5 or 6 guys that all had 9 targets. So there's a bunch of them tied for second. So there was multiple ways you could have guessed right. But the guy we're talking about is Tyler Warren. 9 targets week 1. I believe that led the Colts. Right off the bat, Jamie, a guy. Man, you keep going to the guys you've talked with all off season. Smart. You can show how smart you are during the show. That's well done. But I think you already know. But what do you think about Tyler Warren?
Man, this dude after week 1 looks like the real deal in that Colts offense, right? Like his usage jumped out right away. He was on the field for key downs. He got scheme targets, and he looked like a natural fit in that system. So he actually led the team in targets, like you said, and receptions. He had 30% target share and 24% of the team's air yards. So this isn't just some random flash game for him. This is a sign that they want to get him involved. The Colts, they clearly trust him, especially on third downs and in the red zone. He had a 66% red zone target share. So for fantasy, that's gold. Like Tyler Warren deserves your attention. He's not just a 1 week wonder. Like I already had him as my Dynasty tight end 3, right? So I can't move him up anymore. But I also wanted to be ahead of the game. So that's why I put him there early.
You were right.
It might be too late to go get him right now, but I'd still go out and try to get him where I can. Like even in redrafts, consider him a top 5 weekly upside guy.
It's probably easier to get him in redraft leagues than it is in Dynasty, in spite of how hard it is to trade in redraft compared to Dynasty. There's probably a lot of people that are considering him. I mean, all it took was 1 week of him getting that many targets for me to say, yeah, I ranked him too low. I think entering the season, my tight end 9, if I'm not mistaken. Where you can see where my Dynasty rankings are now. When the update comes in, he's going to be in the top 4 for sure.
Like I thought it was ridiculous. And in drafts, when I saw Tyler Warren go ahead of Njoku, I was like, you guys are idiots, leaving me Njoku. But no, I was wrong. It's going to be Tyler Warren.
Njoku, one of my most rostered tight ends.
Yes, me too.
Ingram's my most rostered. That really hurt. And not having Tyler Warren really hurt me. How about you, Rahul?
Man, this is absolutely the truth. Again, Jamie and I talked about this at length in yesterday's episode with Tyler Warren. Real or fake, overreaction or truth? I think both are real and both truth. Tyler Warren is that guy, like in the stat sheet, on the film. I mean, honestly, he kind of even looks like an arbitrage opportunity when I see I can't find Brock Bowers right now. Trey McBride, 20th overall player on Keep Trade Cut. Brock Bowers is 10th overall. Tyler Warren, 50th. And if you kind of think this is a guy who could be a top 5 tight end, in his rookie year, does he get vaulted into that kind of tier right now? He's 48th right now. I want to chase this train, man. It really looks real. Again, the game you talked about a lot yesterday, Jamie, is the Broncos Colts. This could be a good test against a very, very good defense. But I think the fact that he's such a matchup, he's so good. You can use him in so many different ways to get the right matchup that it's not going to be as effective as Pittman being guarded by Surtain. He's probably going to get clamped, right? Tyler Warren is a little bit harder for an opposing defense to plan how to stop him specifically. It's so exciting. I think that is one of the biggest winners of week 1 was Tyler Warren, man. He looks like the real deal. Yeah,
I think even week 2, I'm considering him as tight end 3 right now in my weekly rankings. I think that's what I have it at right now. So I think he's instantly jumped everyone from a redraft and dynasty perspective. And again, if you were like Jamie and you had him there the whole time, then you benefited because you probably have a lot of Tyler Warren.
I think Jamie, sorry, Kyle. I think Jamie, you had him tight end 3 even before the NFL draft, if I'm remembering that correctly.
I think I had him at 4th before the draft or something. But you got to remember, I also came back from the future. I don't know if you remember me telling you that episode.
No.
I went to the future.
We remember.
Back, so I already knew this was going to happen.
And I mean, that's a blast from the past with that commentary. But yeah, the Colts, hey, they did fantastic. Did you guys hear the stat that it's the first time since I think the 77 or 78 season that a team scored on every single possession?
Yeah, that's crazy.
Wow.
Daniel Jones.
Daniel Jones.
We went through all of Tom Brady, Peyton Manning. We've seen the Patrick Mahomes 50 touchdown season, and none of those teams, ever had a game where they scored on every possession.
Only if there was a guy that called Daniel Jones top 10 this week.
Yeah, that's true. You did say that. I ranked him at QB 16, which I guess was good enough to get me high in the overall rankings this week. But yeah,
Congrats,
my point
Kyle.
was
Yep.
the Colts absolutely crushed the Miami Dolphins. And now we're going to get to a little segment, buy and sell. We've done buy and sell episodes before, but Rahul, you want to do a quick buy and sell here? And you would have, it's usually buy low, sell high, but you kind of had a little twist on it. So I'll let you explain and talk about Tua Tagovailoa.
Yeah, guys, I would understand if you both reading the show sheet were like, is this guy like dyslexic or something? Because is that really?
I saw the names and I saw you were doing, so no, it was understandable.
Is it really buy high and sell low? And I'm here to tell you guys, I'm sure both of you know, but also all our listeners, like there is a skill in both buying high and selling low, especially when you think about like the stock market. Like people hate to think that they like buy at all-time highs. All-time high then gets replaced by another all-time high, and you're like, why didn't I buy at this point? I think, especially in week one, especially with limited data, you have some advantages. You can gain advantages by trying to guess where a value is going to go. Tua, it's probably not hard for anyone here listening to figure out which side of that coin it falls in, but I think Tua is a sell low candidate, which is hard to say about any starting quarterback in Superflex Dynasty leagues, which I presume is generally the format that Tua's really talked about. It's probably not really in consideration one QB formats, but man, this Miami vibe is awful. It's even worse than I could have imagined, with Tyreek Hill like moaning on the sideline, like 3 drives into a young season. Mike McDaniels is the bookmaker's favorite to be the first coach fired. And for criticism of Mike McDaniels, he is a clever play caller who has gone the most out of the weapons that he has. And I think that includes Tua. One of Tua's best skills is accuracy, timing inside such a structured system. But when that structure falls apart, you can see that this is a guy who just cannot create anything on his own. It's not even like, we're spoiled by seeing the likes of Lamar, Josh, Patrick Mahomes, the way they can scramble and create. Even like a Cam Ward, it flashes of his ability to extend plays and create. Now he took some heinous sacks, but Tua can't even like climb the pocket when he's under pressure. I think this is a guy whose stock is only going to tank from now. Like he's already not like really set up to be a productive fantasy quarterback. He has that high ceiling that pocket passers can reach with 3-4 touchdown pass touchdown games, but he doesn't have any sort of rushing floor to save you from single digit point games. I just think this is the kind of guy that the arrow is pointing firmly downwards. Not even factoring his concussion risk, like that value could immediately go to 0 at any given point. But this is one that, like, man, it's hard to even say that like a QB with a long-term quarterback still in his late 20s could ever be worth less than a first in Superflex. But this is a situation that I'm even willing to find like, hey, this is a clever move for 2 assets worth 2 seconds, 2 mid-seconds. Can I get like a young wide receiver in a second? I'm honestly willing to take that sell low before the asset that I have kind of vanishes into dust. So I'm curious to hear what you guys think about Tua and the kind of prices you'd be willing to sell him now at.
For me, Tua's trash. I can't sell him because I don't have any of Tua. Never drafted him. It's just that injury risk too, man.
Yeah.
One wrong hit and he is done. His career's
behind
done.
that O line. Yeah.
I'm trying to look and see where I have him in Dynasty.
Wherever I had him, he was too high. I think it was right around. It was in the top 20. I'm pretty sure. And that definitely.
Yeah.
Like at this point, I feel like I had Justin Fields around QB 24, right on that QB 2, QB 3 range. I'd give up Tua to get Fields straight up. I'm probably doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't like doing the quarterback for quarterback straight up. I'd go after like a running back, a receiver. I'd even take like Chuba Hubbard straight up, which is like a second round value for him. But you were saying you could probably get 2 seconds. So you could probably get something on top of that. But I mean, that's just where I value him. Just one second rounder. And
I would say Hubbard. It's funny because I traded Hubbard in the offseason for 2 seconds, and in another league I was in, I saw that. Well, the reason I did it because I saw it happen in another league. Someone traded Hubbard to get an early second and then a future second, and so I did that in FBC Dynasty. Jamie, I don't know if you remember seeing that.
So
I took Cam Scatterbo. That probably wasn't.
I would even put his value like if you need to go get a Jaden Reed type or Khalil Shakur, so one of those slot receivers, even.
Yes.
Maybe go after someone older like a Derrick Henry, do a 1-for-1 and go win that championship now.
And like that's got to be such a rebuilder that's so bad that like the Henry monster performance Sunday night didn't help them win. Like they're hopeless, right? Like that, it takes that because most of the teams I see with Derrick Henry are the strong competitors. Like, there's no way they're giving up Henry to get Tua because they've
reflex. Give me like Cortland Sutton and throw me your 3rd round pick, and I'll give you Tua.
Oh yeah,
Like,
I like a lot of those. Selling them straight up for those receivers, like you mentioned, Shakir, Sutton. Those are some good targets.
I think you probably get a 3rd round pick on top of any of the people I mentioned.
No, I think those are good ways to start. Like, and I think not every team, like, if let's say those 3 receivers, Sutton, Reed, and Shakir on 3 different teams, not all 3 of those managers might want to make that move. But anyone who's maybe really desperate at quarterback, and I guess at this point after that week 1 performance, you'd have to be pretty desperate to think, oh, 2 is my answer. So, like, to be honest, this is probably the absolute worst time to trade him. I imagine he's going to get better fantasy performances than what he just showed.
Oh yeah, he's got to get over 150 yards passing.
Even just scoring a touchdown, right? Like at some point he's going to get better games than this, those, or maybe the sell windows. But I guess the problem with 2 of those, I do have a couple leagues with 2, and I've maybe played that game before. Oh, big week, try and sell him. Even then, people don't buy because the injury risk is still always there. So that, like, now you have 2 things: the production and the injury. At least most of the last couple of years, when he was out there, he was pretty productive. This is just because I know the one league I have him in is a 14-team super flex. He's my QB2. I don't have a QB3 essentially. There's some backup guys. Like that's rough. Like, I have no idea what I'm even going to do there. It's like what because that format is so scarce. I would only want like. I'll maybe try Justin Fields. Like that's maybe what the answer there is because in a 14-team superflex, if I trade him away and I literally only have 1 QB, like that seems like that's not getting anything better. My best hope is to hope that Tua is the guy rather than just sell him to not get a quarterback. Now, if I can trade him for a quarterback, that's maybe what I need to explore. God, the sell low at this point is pretty low. But that's man. If you believe heavily in Tua, you must feel pretty low right now. Let's pick ourselves up. Let's make ourselves feel a little better. We're gonna talk about Jaguars running backs. I mean, hey, the Jaguars. Nothing feels better than playing the Panthers, right? So the Jags.
And that that might just be a massive asterisk on the outlook. But I think by now, a lot of people, everyone really, I would assume, playing fantasy football has heard that Tank Bigsby has been traded from the Jacksonville Jaguars to the Philadelphia Eagles. One piece of this extremely murky-looking backfield when we started the season has been removed. We've also got 1 game's worth of production of snap count, and I think this is the perfect time to strike. And even with the hype, buy high on your choice, if not both, of the Jaguars' lead running backs. This is specifically talking about Travis Etienne and Bashal Tutin.
Oh, not LaQuint Allen. Okay, never mind.
Look, and I did have a point. Unfortunately, to this episode is after all the waiver runs because I was gonna say like if LaQuint Allen's on your waivers, go pick him up. He got picked up in every single one of my dynasty leagues overnight. So
I just thought it was strange that again he's the 3rd back officially. He got targeted in the passing game, and Bashal Tutin did not see a single target. I thought that was strange considering what we thought of Tutin, but still an encouraging sign with how much
LaQuint Allen does have a very, very specific role on 3rd and long situations. He's the best pass protector from the coach speak. He has that very specific role, but I just think this is a time to strike for an offense that should create a lot of running back fantasy points. Last year, the Liam Cohen offense supported 2 top 24 running backs in PPR. I think in half PPR, Rashad White was 27th. That offense was also 4th in rush yards per game, led the NFL in yards per carry. And even in week 1, a week that Trevor Lawrence was on, like, frankly, Trevor Lawrence was very disappointing in week 1. I do expect him to bounce back against the Cincinnati Bengals this upcoming week. But I think but you still saw a lot of that Liam Cohen, the creative runs, explosive plays, the screen game capabilities. That I think is just going to prop up like the outlooks of a lot of these fantasy running backs. Like ETN had a 70-yard run. We know Bashal Tuden has that explosive quality in his game. I think I am willing to pay a 2nd-round pick for either of these backs at this point. I really wish I chose Bashal Tuden for last week's episode of like players outside the top 100 that could vault into the top 50, because not that I think that Tuden is going to overtake ETN like immediately, but it could, get to like a 60-40, 50, even a 50-50 split at some point. One ETN injury. It's also ETN's last year on his contract, and I think the upside for having the lead back on the Jacksonville Jaguars is going to pay significant dividends. I see like a top 50, like ETN's in my top 15 running backs, I think, for this week moving forward. A lot of it's also the matchup, but I think these are guys we want to be chasing. This is upside that we want to have on our teams, and I'm okay buying high at this point because I anticipate the value increasing with each week that we see this play out on the field.
Yeah, I'm down to buy Tootin all day. I think I had him in my top 24 Dynasty running back.
Just ahead of the curve, yeah. And I feel like Kyle and I
you don't need to go buy one after
one.
week 1 if you've already bought them before the season. Right? That's why we do these buy and sell shows as well.
But yeah, no, go out, get Tootin right now because that dude is a super freak. We all know it. There is a possibility he could, if he splits 50-50, he's going to outscore ETN. That's just how athletic this guy is.
It's not like ETN's a scrub. Like, he's a pretty talented athletic specimen himself.
He was top 6 just 2 years ago.
I think didn't he finish RB3 in 2020?
Yeah, so
3.
There's a scenario where they could possibly trade him mid-season if they're not doing too well because his contract is up at the end of this year, and that's why you want to get Tootin now because Tootin's going to replace ETN next year, 1-for-1. So I'm down to go get Tootin. I was looking at LaQuinn Allen. I already have him in 7 Dynasty leagues. Stashed him on my bench or on my taxi squad, and I'm looking to sell him actually. Just because
there's a little bit of increase in hype.
I would also go buy him too.
Because he was probably a waiver wire pickup, maybe late.
Very last waiver wire pick. It was between him and Damian Martinez. And then once Martinez got released, I went and switched out some of my Martinez's for LaQuinn Allen because I think
the team.
Even in a redraft on Best Ball, I drafted LaQuinn Allen in a deeper league. So that tells you that I believe in him.
Jamie, future man. I guess I speculate that because Etienne had that top 3 overall season a couple years, and people remember that. I can see with the performance he just had, his price spiking drastically. Whereas Tootin will go up in price based on the Bigsby news, but I don't know if he'll go up enough to where it feels overpriced to pay him. I probably want to buy him a lot more than I want to buy Travis Etienne. And just for that, again, the buy the running back on the rookie contract as opposed to the guy on a 1-year contract. It's your option. It's technically an extension of that rookie contract.
I'm telling you right now, I'm not giving up Tootin for a second, Rahul. Never, because that's what I bought him at this year. I got him in the 2nd round.
I remember in my rankings, I think I had him ranked in Superflex as the 212, like the 24th.
Yeah, I had him 212, but yeah.
So if you can still buy for a second right now, that feels fair price. Like it feels like he hasn't really increased much. It goes from a late second this year to a random second next year. Like feels really close. So if you could still do it for a second, I think it's a brilliant move to go buy Tootin. So I'm a little more enthusiastic to try and buy Tootin than I am. That would be my take.
Yeah.
Now, I guess last segment I wanted to share, and this is more about start-sit decisions. And I think there's a player that I've been really high on. It's funny, we could have actually called this Seahawks running backs. Instead, I'm just going to focus on Ken Walker because man, God. So talk about being depressed. There's nothing that probably made me sadder in fantasy other than my longtime RSO league losing by 2 points and as the second highest scorer, third highest scorer. Like that hurt. That hurt my heart quite a lot. Thank you, Derek. But seeing Ken Walker get out carried by Zach Charbonnet, seeing Zach Charbonnet get the goal line touches and get the touchdown, because it really feels like if there's this could have been fiction or truth in terms of overreaction. They've talked about this. Like the coaching staff talked about, splitting them more evenly. Charbonnet had 46% of the team's carries. Ken Walker had 38.5%. 13.6% of the targets. That was nice. Charbonnet wasn't targeted at all in the passing game. So that was interesting. Have we already seen Charbonnet's the goal line back, Ken Walker's the pass catching back, and it's clear 50-50 split. At least again, Ken Walker didn't even get 50. He got 38. He got 39% of the carries. It's not even a 50-50 split. Is that divide enough to me in some leagues to consider benching him? And I think that's really where the decision is with Ken Walker. Is those where you have him, I think you have to really strongly consider not playing him. Doesn't mean I'm going to bench him everywhere. I think I had him in 3, maybe 4 leagues. I'm not going to bench him everywhere, but there are definitely leagues where I've made that decision already. It feels like if he is going to be a pass catching back, maybe the advantage is I don't think Sam Darnold's very good and the Seahawks are good, so I expect they'll be trailing a lot. I guess that's the positive with Walker. If they're trailing a lot, in theory, he's the guy that's going to be out there more based on the week 1 opportunity share, getting more targets than Charbonnet 0. So I guess that's maybe the only positive I see for Walker. But in leagues where you've got Walker, do you think it's an overreaction to bench him?
Depends on who you have. Go ahead, Rahul. Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah. I mean, this is one that really hurts my heart as well, Kyle.
I think it's because before this week, I started him in every league I had him. It was Ken Walker, that's a no-brainer. You're not even thinking about it. Running backs that are lead backs, potential workhorses, you play them. Now you actually have to consider it. You have to go through and do I start him or not in every league? I think that's more what it is. You're not necessarily automatically benching him.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not automatically starting him in every league. Maybe I should explain. That's how my mentality's changed.
The point you made about targets is an interesting one because another con in the Ken Walker column is Charbonnet actually took the 2-minute drill in the first half, and that's where you get a lot of those running back targets is when the defense is playing prevent. It's easy to get the check down and get your running back out of play, and Charbonnet took that role. On the flip side, Hayden Winks of Underdog puts out these great charts about RB situational usage given the minute in the game and the percentage chance the team has winning which running back took a touch. And to close the game out in the fourth quarter when it's still very tight, Ken Walker had all those touches at the end of the game. So I think Ken Walker, it's definitely still a question. You're right, not an automatic start anymore. It's one that I'm optimistic that, maybe they're ramping him up after off-season injuries with his injury history. I'll still give him another week. But, man, this is a guy that I was thinking, is going to push, his best ever season finish as a top 12, top 10 running back, and it seems it's a little more difficult now.
For me, I could still see a top 12 finish. You got to remember, he didn't play all preseason.
Mm-hmm.
He was nursing that injury. So I didn't expect him to do much week 1. Maybe week 2 he does a little bit better. I still have Walker ahead of Charbonnet. But you're right. It is hard to start him. I would go a Jalen Warren over Walker in week 2. I would go.
That's how my weekly rankings have it as well, Jamie.
Obviously, I would start a DeAndre Swift, someone that we took a few rounds later. Maybe it said Javonte Williams. Possibly.
I have Nick Chubb ranked ahead of him in week 2. Is that
crazy? Yeah. Then you got J.K. Dobbins with that messy backfield. I would still start Dobbins over him this week.
Yep. Aaron Jones, I've got ahead of him.
Yeah, Aaron Jones, Dylan Sampson, even.
Oh, for sure.
I think the tough.
Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, of course. You have to start.
Yeah, even Travion Henderson, I would start over him, but.
You see, I have those 2 back-to-back, and that's an interesting comparison, Jamie. Sorry if you want to continue after this, but I really want to bring up the point of Henderson to Walker. I remember I said 13.6% target share for Walker. It was 13.3 for Henderson. they both look like the third down pass catching backs for their team.
Yeah.
But only 27% of the carries for Henderson. So I actually have Walker one spot of Henderson this week, but they're to me the same range of you can't just set it and forget it with them. You have to actually consider it. I think based on who else you have, who you have, are they a flex spot and who's the receiver? Sorry.
Yeah, so I agree with you. Right now, I think he is one of those he's not an automatic start. 2 weeks from now, we're going to be talking a little bit differently. And
yeah, you're right. If it is injury related and they're resting him for that, or they're not overloading for that reasons, maybe by the end of the month he's back to being the workhorse. So that'd be amazing. And I think that's why I specifically said start sit, because the one thing I'm not doing, I'm not selling him right now. This would be the worst time to possibly sell him.
Oh yeah, go out and buy him.
Let things play out.
We all know his talent.
Sure.
And he's never had any major injury history. It's always been like low to moderate. A couple games here, a couple games there. So I think it fits that zone run scheme that they're going to be running a lot. And as soon as he's healthy enough to run to the outside and just blast through those defenders, I think he's going to be a huge buy low right now.
I have so much of him that I don't really want to buy because I'm already so heavily invested. But yeah, I definitely am not selling. I'm going to hold on to those shares and I'll bench him where I need to, but I'll hope for better days. Yep. Hope Ezekiel Louise is still watching. Thank you for this question. So full PPR league, who would you take? And I'm interpreting that as who would you pick up? Like these are all free agent tight ends, so who's the best one to add? You got Zach Ertz, Dalton Kincaid, Tucker Kraft, Kyle Pitts. Love that they were placed in alphabetical order. Amazing.
Yeah.
Tucker Kraft for me.
I got Kraft as a top 5 tight end this week. So if these guys are on waivers, you're going to have options to stream week to week. Kraft might even be a every week starter from here on out. Kincaid is close behind him. But go ahead and pick up Kraft right now.
Back to the targets. Who of these guys got the most targets week 1? Does anyone know?
Probably Kincaid. Right?
No. It's
Kincaid had the least, to be honest. I think Kraft also had 4. So I think they tied for.
Even going forward for the season, I think Kraft has a better opportunity to be a top 6. I have Kincaid somewhere around that top 10. So I just like Kraft.
I think it's a Kraft for me too. But to answer your question, it was Kyle Pitts who had the most targets.
Tied for 7th among tight ends with 8 targets. Drake London's hurt. Darnell Mooney's hurt. Jamie, you said it. If you can afford to just stream week to week, I want Kyle Pitts because I think this is the time to play him with these injuries to the other Falcons pass catchers. This is when Kyle Pitts is going to earn targets. So get him for these weeks when Mooney and London are back healthy and what we assume they'll be the top 2 targets and Pitts is kind of an afterthought. Drop him then and stream from there. I think if you want a 1 week starter, I want Kyle Pitts. It's a dome game against the Vikings. I think I want to take that shot on Pitts. I've got him ranked the highest this week out of all these guys. So that's why Kyle Senra wild take on Kyle Pitts. And I usually hate getting players named Kyle because I think most of them are pretty awful. Most of them haven't done anything for fantasy. I've always said it, the good NFL players who are named Kyle are all defensive. The ones that play offense tend to not be that good. I hope Kyle Senra did okay hosting. Certainly Rahul and Kenny were fantastic as my co-hosts. And yeah, I think we didn't quite get it in an hour, but we're getting a little better at these timings, I think. So great job, guys.
Great efficiency, great yards per carry, or yap per comment, perhaps. Great.
If anyone's still listening live, in about 5 minutes, I'm going to be going live on the IDP Center podcast. So just look up IDP Center on YouTube and drop your questions in there too.
Shoot, 10:50. I didn't realize we're cutting it that close. I'm sorry, Jamie.
No, you're good.
All right, well, thank you. Appreciate it. Yeah, so you can follow us on Twitter. I'm at Senra Says. Rahul's at SmallTalkFF. Jamie's at Jamie Perog. Yeah, remember to check everything out at fantasy6pack.net. The All Access membership gets you tons of great DFS betting and cheat sheet content, advanced rankings, and all sorts of great other premium content that isn't just available on the website, which there's actually a ton of great articles. I'm shocked how many times like I write an article and I go see it. I have to scroll down. There's so much. I released this yesterday. Like it's constant. It's amazing. There's even more stuff with the All Access membership. You thought the website is crazy amounts of info. The All Access membership. You get a discount too, 15% off using the promo code F6. F6POD. So again, check out fantasy6pack.net. Be sure to subscribe to us here on the Fantasy Six Pack YouTube or subscribe wherever your audio podcast. Really appreciate all the listeners, everyone who commented. Absolutely adore my co-hosts, Jamie, Rahul. Thanks again. Great episode, guys.
Great job.
You guys.
Thanks for listening.
Yep. Tune in next week.
Said it perfectly. Nothing else to say, even though I just said more words. But now is the time for the outro video.